I was looking at somebody's essay yesterday, I think, and he wanted to know whether or not it was good. It was a good essay, and as I was going through it, and I read it hastily to start with before we started talking, and I thought this is a fine piece of work. And then I was as we were talking and as I was going through it in detail, I noticed the M dashes, and I thought this has probably gone through ChatGPT at some point, and I checked. I was right. The problem is you write something on ChatGPT and then you think, oh, you write something independently and then you think, oh, I could perhaps tidy that up a little bit by putting it in ChatGPT. What that will do is litter your text with hidden codes, mostly codes that are non-space fillers. Very strange. There's about four of these different codes which turn up in ChatGPT, or at least used to. I don't know whether they still do. And then there's the M dash and the N dash. And no matter how much you tell ChatGPT not to use these, it does. The M dash and the N dash, I think, are not available on an ordinary computer keyboard. So it's an obvious sign that the stuff has been put through ChatGPT. And then you can also put texts through check software which determines whether or not something is AI generated, and if anything has gone through in any way through ChatGPT, it will turn it out as this is 90% AI generated, even if it's not, because it's now interlaced with these codes which signal ChatGPT or AI generation. There's no getting away from it. I suppose you can go into some sort of course, source editor and remove all those codes. I don't know whether that will do the job, but the problem is we haven't found a way to embrace AI yet, and so universities see it as cheating, which is silly. It's just simply using a new tool, and so when I look at this, I don't think this is about academic misconduct, but about the cultural moment that it reveals. Artificial intelligence is not simply entering our lecture halls uninvited; it's been ushered in, subscription code in hand, by students, by universities, by tech companies alike, and then we're saying, oh yes, but here it is, but you can only use it under certain circumstances. That is absurd. What we are witnessing is not a crisis of cheating, it's a crisis of teaching, it's a crisis of pedagogy. And the rise of ChatGPT and other large language models has exposed how brittle, outdated, and unimaginative many of our academic assessment methods have become. We used to be obsessed with plagiarism. Now we're obsessed with AI generation. Between 2023 and 2024, nearly 7,000 students in British universities were caught using AI to cheat, 5.1% of 1,000 students. This is up from 1.6% the previous year, and every data suggests we'll soon hit 7.5%. That's 360% increase in just 2 years. And yet traditional plagiarism cases are falling from 19%, or from 19 in 1,000 students in 2019 to 20. We're now down to just 8.5. The copy and paste era is being replaced by the copy and prompt. And the question is not if AI is used, but how. And more worryingly, whether we can tell, or whether we need to bother telling. Surely we should be judging academic scholarship not on the way it was produced, but on the message that it contains. A recent study from Reading, I think, showed that AI-generated essays went undetected 94% of the time. Big tech knows where its future lies. It lies with students. Microsoft's Copilot, Google's Gemini, Anthropic's Claude, they're all offering free trials, discounted plans, university partnerships. This is not philanthropy, this is brand imprinting, and they are targeting students. And they want students fluent in their tools by graduation, just as Adobe once monopolized the design classroom, or Excel did the same thing with business schools. AI is not an add-on, it's a primary medium of knowledge, access, and production. And if Google was once the library, ChatGPT is now the librarian, one with a persuasive tone, a convincing footnote, and unfortunately, occasional hallucinations. And universities therefore face a triple bind. Firstly, detection is imprecise. AI detectors are unreliable. They're produced by the same people that produce, or they're produced by the same machines that produce the AI in the first place. False positives are high. Proof is elusive. Secondly, policy is patchy. Over a quarter of UK universities don't even record AI cheating as a separate category. And thirdly, ethics is murky. If we can't define what counts as acceptable use, editing, rephrasing, drafting, then how can we possibly police it? Add to this the ethical dangers of AI itself, built-in bias, a lack of transparency, data harvesting, opaque decision-making, and yes, you may have noticed, AI platforms often insert themselves into, they often insert these lurking M dashes, the idiosyncratic punctuation, the peculiar code tags, the obsession with certain words like deem and delve. An astute examiner can spot it the moment this sort of rubbish churns off the page. But most examiners and most readers don't, and they cannot see it. We need to abandon the fantasy that banning AI will work. It's like forbidden calculators in the past, saying all calculators are forbidden in maths, or you mustn't use Wikipedia in history. And this fantasy, Wikipedia is wrong, it's not always right. Well, it's not always right. It's an evolving process. But students will use it. And so the question is, can they use it well? And as for Wikipedia, I think it's a great tool. That's the starting point of your research. It's not the end point of your research. And under the Wikipedia entry, there's then often a lot of very interesting footnotes. Go to the footnotes. That's your first point of research. And then from the footnotes, you then go to further details. And if those footnotes don't exist, then you start to get interesting question marks raised about the validity of the original text. Not necessarily that it's untrue, but that the sources have disappeared. Sources do. This may be your only reference to that particular idea. So to abandon that simply because you don't like Wikipedia is absurd. We need to, I think there are 4 proposals. First, we need to teach AI literacy. As a research tool, ChatGPT outperforms Google in contextualization, in reasoning, in relevance. But it can lie, and it can flatter the researcher, and we need to teach students to interrogate their AI, not to worship it. Secondly, we need to set assessments that demand original thinking. So ask for reflections, not regurgitation. Require process notes, oral defenses, and in-person discussions, rather than simply presentations with lots of footnotes. Those days are gone. We need to go back to the a sort of tutoring process where we have interaction, personal interaction. We need to embrace transparency. Students should declare when and how they've used AI, if they can. Just as they would cite a source, they now need to acknowledge a tool. And we need to reinvest in handwriting, not because it's better, but because it guarantees authenticity. It's also, in many ways, quicker. And I find it extraordinary that students put everything on a computer. You need a variety of sources. And and the active mind is not engaged in just one screen. The active mind would be engaged in two or three screens, two or three sources. I always have a spread of paper on my desk, and I'm scribbling all the time. Even as I speak, I'm often making notes. We need to Berkeley College in Berkeley in the US. There's been an 80% rise in blue book sales. Apparently, little notebooks. That one of the best things that I've ever discovered. Really, I think a notebook that you can stick in your pocket and carry around with you. In the 17th century, it used to be called a commonplace book, and I now have one pretty well every week, and I put everything in it, and so I know in the end that I can find things not because they're filed according to subject, but because they're filed according to week. And we cannot rely on surveillance alone. I don't think we should. China may ban phones and block radio signals during its development of ideas, but Western academia quite rightly prefers trust over totalitarianism, and it's the deepest issue is philosophical. What is education for? It's not simply about producing output. It's not simply about getting a certificate. AI can and will replace the student, but if it's about cultivating judgment, argument, style, intellectual curiosity, then the human remains essential, and those are the things we need to promote. So it's about changing the way in which we measure academic achievement, and the way in which and what we consider to be academic achievement. The Greek philosopher Protagoras said, "Man is the measure of all things." So we need to extend that to say, student is the measure of the machine. We must use AI not to cut corners, but to climb further, to test it, to question it, to spar with it, and that's what real learning looks like. The classroom is changing. We need to stop pretending that it isn't changing, and our duty now is not to ban the future, but to teach the future.